Hello, this is Bino. I'm an arborist and a certified tree worker. Today what we're going to do is talk about clips and carabiners and some accessory carabiners, all the different kind of things that you'd use in tree care for tree climbing. Give you like where I started and then where I'm at right now, and hopefully it's helpful to you. Let's get to it. The first thing I'll talk about are clips. When I first started in tree care, clips didn't really have double locking. Then they came up with a double locking where you can't just open it, you have to press the back and it opens. Made our work a lot more safe. Anyhow, with the old system, you would just have one clip and you'd tie your rope and your knot system to this. Then a little bit later on, they had the split tail, so you would have two clips, and it was great because now it made your work go a lot more quicker, and it was equally as safe. So not too long after that, then they started using press-it cords. Now when we started going to the press-it cords, then they started using carabiners. Now carabiners opened up a whole new world. They're equally as safe, they're lighter weight, a lot of them are made of aluminum. They do have steel carabiners, but for climbing I've always liked the aluminum ones because they're so much more light. So they are locking, and they have a triple action. So you have to push up, turn, and then open. That's your triple action, and it's double locking. Once you let go, it snaps and pops back. That's your double locking. So now that you had all this, it's almost like limitless the things that you can do with the carabiners. Since they're so customizable, I'll be going over some of the things that you want to look for when you're looking at carabiners. So next we'll talk about shapes of carabiners. There's only a handful of shapes. So you've got a D-shaped carabiner and also pear shape, and then there's the oval, and then some carabiners will be kind of like a pear shape, and they might have like little things in them, like a spool, like a pulley sheath to make friction easier. When it comes to the shape, it's going to be your preference. Now what I've noticed with the D-shaped carabiners, sometimes when I'm putting my friction cords in and I have different types of pulleys, so like maybe like a pinto pulley, it's a little bit harder for, like here's like a pinto shaped pulley. Now if I have a pinto shape and I have a carabiner like this, it doesn't really, I can't really rotate it. So having maybe like an oval is a little bit better if I have a pulley like this. And even if I'm going to be using like a press-it cord and I want to rotate it, now sometimes the pear shapes might have an issue with that. But honestly, it's more in how you use it, and it will boil down to what you like the most. Also with some of the carabiner shapes, not just in the way that they're shaped like a D or a pear or oval, but some carabiners like these Petzls and to the chicane, it has a groove that it requires it for you to attach it to your like zigzag. And also from the chicane, and also at this point you need to have that H framed carabiner. And also some carabiners, like if it's a pear shape, some people might like having a pear shape so when they connect, they have a wider place to connect. And maybe it's a little bit longer than some of the other carabiners. But in shape, it's basically going to be your preference and what you like. For me, I'm really liking the way the ovals fit on systems, even on the MRS, and then when it comes to SRS systems, I think I like to work with them a little bit more. For me, it's a little bit easier to maneuver on the systems. Also, carabiners have different sizes, and it's something that you'll decide how you like to operate what you have. So for me, I've got an akimbo here, and with the akimbo I've got a regular oval, and it's a regular size carabiner, and I don't mind that because this akimbo is really short, and the regular length, when I set it on my belt, it's in a pretty good spot. But now, so when I have the Rope Runner Pro, it's kind of long, right? So I decided I would want the Perfect O. It's a little bit smaller of a carabiner. If you compare them, you can see the difference in size, right? So you know, because the rope runner is a lot more longer in length and the akimbo is more compact, I didn't mind having a regular one, but then for me, I wanted to have a little perfecto just to give a little bit less length. You know, now it's a little bit, you know, better when I'm gonna decide to descend. Also, I have on a regular, I have here, this is a double lanyard. I have a regular carabiner connected with my friction cord, but I decided on another lanyard that I would have a smaller pear shape, and I like the pear shape instead of the oval because it keeps everything closer, and it's a shorter, so when I put this on my D-ring, it's a little bit closer into myself. And yeah, it's not that big of a difference, but you know, I don't mind that extra smaller inch, and it's on the side. So when I decided that on this lanyard how I wanted to make it, yeah, having a little pear and a shorter one was better than just having a regular oval or a D and maybe the regular size. It's basically really up to you, but you know, you got lots of options. So those are things that you can do when you're making up your own climbing gear. Next, I'm going to talk about special carabiners and accessories to carabiners. I really don't have very many special carabiners. One I have is a revolver, which has a spool in it to help reduce friction. There's also a carabiner called a Rhino, and there's some other carabiners that have a rated gate. Now, a carabiner with a rated gate, it has a rating, so if it side loads, it's not going to come open on you. Remember, with any of these things, it's, you know, even though it's safe, it's going to be up to you whether you like to use it or not. Also, I wanted to mention about, like you saw with this akimbo here, we have on this carabiner, we have a captive, and the captive actually holds the carabiner upright so it won't side load and then have that gate situation where it's up against something that's weaker. But some carabiners have the captive built in. So there's one that has a rod that goes completely through and it like screws in. And then there's another one that's like a spring-loaded gate. Now those are nice for some applications, and they're pretty, you know, they're a special carabiner. Just because there's a special carabiner, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be a better carabiner. What you ought to do is research it out and see if it's something that really is going to be good for you. Sometimes because it's built better or with more options, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be better for you to use. Another thing I wanted to talk about are accessory carabiners. You know, so something like this, it's not double locking, and this one is rated, but it's not rated for tree climbing. This is great for like putting on to a saw, like your hand saw, even a chainsaw, maybe a bag that you'll put on the side of you. They're great to maybe like have like a connecting point for like the end of your lanyard. You have it on there. It's a nice thing to have. Something like this carabiner, or maybe even a little bit smaller. These are great for like a chesty if you're doing an SRS system. So you connect it to your chesty, and then this connects to your climbing system. And then what you do is when you're going to come up off of it, you push it open. Now, when it comes to that kind of a thing, though, I think I like a trigger clip more than, say, a clip like this. So even, you know, this is not PPE, it's only to tend your line. What I like more is a trigger snap. So I have that connected to my chesty, and when I'm going to get ready to come off, all I have to do is pop it open and it disconnects. That's a little bit, for me, it's a little bit more of a smoother operation. Also, sometimes like on the bottom of your, if you have a Haas, you know, mostly you'll have like a clip like this. Now having this kind of a clip is nice for me. So what you do is just push this button, it pops open. So when I'm getting ready to take it off, I just pop that open and then it releases. And these things aren't PPE, but they're just for tending and things like that. So it's not something that you really have to worry about to be rated. The next thing I want to talk about are not carabiners, but I wanted to talk about them because in an SRS system, if you're going to do a canopy tie or a base anchor, a lot of people will use a carabiner. And a carabiner is not recommended because it could side load, and the gate are not really rated. So there could be a risk of you falling. The thing that I wanted to talk about are the Quickie. And a Quickie is a shackle that is a double locking shackle. It has these little pinpoints here. You push them in, they open, and then you put your rope through here, and then you lock it securely. And it's made out of steel, and they're rated at like 30 kilonewtons and 15 on them. So the major is 30 kilonewtons, and the minor is 15 kilonewtons. They're considered PPE, and for canopy or base anchors, they're great to use. Now this is a one that's not milled. It's a notch Quickie. This is a Singing Tree milled version. It's the same thing, it's just made a little bit different. It has the same double locking system. And also there's another one called an ISC Ultralink, and it does the same kind of thing. It's rated with this spool in at 40 kilonewtons, and if the spool is out, it's rated at 30. It does have a little bit different action. It has a button that you turn, and then you turn this pin, and then it pops open. Now that pin does not fall out, and to close it, you just push it back in, and then you twist it. So you push it, and you turn it and twist. Now these are great for canopy ties and also base anchors. So, but a carabiner is really not recommended. I thought I'd like to mention this just in this carabiner video because they're important if you're going to, do SRS climbing and you're going to do canopy or base anchors. Well, there you have it. Those are some of the things that I looked for in carabiners when I was picking out my systems. You want to make sure that when you're getting ready to buy carabiners for what you plan on climbing on, that you research them out a little bit. And I wouldn't just buy all one type. Maybe figure out what your application is going to be, and maybe even in the way that you maybe like to open it, because there's some carabiners that open reverse than others, and there's some of those rated carabiners that are real difficult to open. But bottom line, it will be on your preference. So do a little bit of time looking at it and researching it, and then hopefully you make some real good choices. Anyhow, comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you like what we do. And by all means, share our videos. Take care. We'll see you next time.